Hey there guys, it's Beast
Hello.
King 46 here. I hope you guys are all having a good day, good night, whatever the hell you guys are doing right now.
Winter is
I'm
harsh.
gonna
We
give
must
you
work
guys
together to
a quick
survive.
rundown on basically a beginner's guide to when you start a game in Dark and Lights. It's not going to be anything complicated. I'm not going to show you how to build a super epic base or anything like that. I'm just going to give you a few basic tips and guide. If you have any questions on whether how to tame, how to do anything like that, leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to view it and give you any heads up. Now, just so you know, I am in a single player world and I do have certain cheats enabled so to make the whole process a little faster. Otherwise it could take me up to an hour to thoroughly get through everything properly. Now when you first begin the game, you're going to see that you have some basic quests that will teach you how to collect materials and so on. Do those make sure you follow those quests before you go off adventuring out into the world, because where the quests actually show up, it can be a little bit disorienting. It covers up a piece of your screen. So this area generally is pretty safe. The beginning area, I'm currently outside of the human faction city. This beginning area is pretty damn safe. Same thing with the dwarves. However, if you start off in the elven area, just know that the area around there is known for having an excessive amount of deathstalkers or panthers, if you want to call them that. And also near the elven areas where you would find things such as vicious Bargosh, which is an evolved form of hyena. They're really hard to kill and really hard to knock out. They're basically impossible to kill if you ever find one while you're a low level player, and especially if you're all by yourself without a mount or anything like that. Now this game does play pretty much the same as Ark. You have your basic tools, your pickaxe, your axe, the dagger, and you got a scythe or sickle. Also you have your staff, which is used in order to collect magic shards, cast spells, and even defense spells such as firewall, ice wall, lightning wall if I remember right, and I think that's about it for the defense spells. Certain spells do require you use them while either mounted on specific items, or others can only be used on certain monsters and or creatures.
Every success begins with failure.
Okay. Now, if you need twine, which I guess in this game would be the thatch, just use your pickaxe on any tree to collect a lot more twine than you would wood, and axe to collect a lot more stone than you would minerals such as sulfur, metals, and so on. There are 3 types of metal nodes in this game. There is the copper metal node. It's basically a golden color. There is the iron metal node. That's a dark gray. It's also pretty small and looks like a little pillar. And then there's the mithril metal node. The mithril is pretty easy to see. It's a white rock that has formations on it that look as if it had small, I guess you could say, stone or metallic looking crystals coming out of it. Now you also have your light stone and your dark stone, which is actually a type of elemental stone, and you honestly won't need those until later on. So if you find some, just remember where it is, and you don't really need to carry it around if you're a low level or a beginner. Now, combat is pretty basic in this game. When it comes to your stats will increase both based on 2 things. One is when you level up and you slowly increase your stats yourself, and 2 is that as you get better at certain skill branches, your stats will also increase. For example, the better you are at melee crafting, the more your the more raw attack power you have. While the better you are at survival, the more health you have. The better, the better you are at range combat. The better you are at crafting range items such as spears, throwing knives, bows, arrows. The better arrows you will unlock later on, and the more physical attack you'll have. Now, a lot of people complain about the game because the game's not. Besides that beginning tutorial, it doesn't really explain how you unlock the rest of the skill branches. The way you unlock taming and therefore riding is by first unlocking the hook arrows and then crafting hook arrows in order to be able to unlock them. If you've never crafted a hook arrow, you won't be able to unlock it, even if you knock out an animal, let's say by punching it. Now, if you're having trouble unlocking your riding skill, try taming anything at all. Honestly, the easiest thing you could probably try taming if you haven't been able to unlock your riding skill is just tame a sheep. They don't fight back. They're pretty slow, so there's no way it's gonna outrun you or get away.
You can also do the third option, which is use a dagger to skin animals.
Yeah, but the thing is that unless you've unlocked the riding skill already, like unless you've increased a small percentage, you won't be able to unlock your riding skill by collecting skins or hides. Now, let's say you have already started to unlock your riding skill, alright? As soon as you've started to unlock your riding skill, grab either a throwing dagger or, as I have right now, an iron dagger, and use that to collect hides. If you use any other tool, you won't collect as much hide or fur as you need in order to craft your armors. When you first start the game, there's a good chance you're gonna find a bunch of these little rabbits. Don't kill them just yet. You can't tame the rabbits. They're really only there as meat and a place where you can collect some hide and fur before since you're not really capable of fighting large creatures yet. Once you've got a throwing dagger, use the dagger to collect as much fur and hide as you can from the dead animals. For example, I'm gonna show you right now. Okay, killed the sheep. If I use the dagger, now just so you know, I do have harvest rates increased. So of course I'm gonna get a ridiculous amount of hide and fur off this sheep than you would on a typical vanilla game. So I collected 50. Out of all that, I only collected a few meat and not really much, and the rest I collected, but what I primarily collected was hide and fur. However, if you try to do the same thing with a pickaxe or an axe, you're going to collect a lot more meat than you will fur or hide. Yep, just give me a second. Again, I have the game amplified. I did increase the game by quite a bit in order to be able to do the tutorial without constantly dying or having to grind too much on the game. The grind itself is pretty fun, but I didn't want to take a lot of time in order to show you what the grind is like. Now, when you start wanting to tame animals such as the wolves or hyenas or anything else, you gotta want to get yourself a cobweb spell or orb of entanglement. This orb of entanglement you'll get it as soon as you unlock the offhand stuff, which you won't unlock until after you've made your first pickaxe and sword. after you've made your first stone sword and pickaxe, you'll actually start being able to unlock your offhand stuff, which isn't too hard to increase. As you travel through your game, you're gonna start collecting a bunch of wood, which again will slowly increase your offhand stuff. And since you will be crafting your orbs of entanglement pretty often due to the fact that they're kind of essential when it comes to taming, and at least when it comes to solo taming, you're not gonna want to go around without a orb of entanglement. Something you will want to remember is that even though this aim may be a lot like Ark, it is nothing like Ark. If you want to tame something, you can't just trick it to go into a little box and then stand at a distance as you chug a bunch of trank arrows into it or anything like that. In this game, if you want to tame something, you gotta first hit it with a hook arrow, place the hook arrow down onto the ground, and then repeat the process again and again as the animal chases you around, breaking the lines of the hook arrows. The more lines of hook arrows he breaks at once, the higher I guess you could say the fatigue or constitution of the animal goes up. Basically, the more arrows it goes, the more lines it breaks, the faster it'll get knocked out. Now, there's two types of hook arrows in this game. You got your standard hook arrow, and then you got your iron hook arrow. Iron hook arrows I only recommend using on very powerful tames, such as the dragons, because currently there's no real need to use them on anything else. You can tame everything else in this game using the regular old hook arrows that you can base. That at first you will think will take a long time to produce due to the fact that you do need charcoal for them. But as soon as you unlock the bonfire, just place down a bunch of bonfires all over the place. And speak of the devil, after you place down a bunch of bonfires all over the place, you can basically, whenever you aren't in the middle of taming or anything like that, you can just run up to your bonfires, collect as much charcoal as you want, and then just repeat the process whenever the heck you need actual charcoal. Otherwise, you can just sit on your butt and wait for the charcoal instead of having to constantly burn wood.
Might want to tell them what they may need to do to make the bonfire because of the misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, as you progress through the game, you're going to unlock special ruins, such as ruins of gravity. Ruins of gravity will, in fact, the first level of ruins of gravity will actually decrease the amount of carry weight, the weight of every item by, I think it was a quarter, if I remember correctly. The second one will reduce all item weights by half, and the third one will reduce all the items' weight by 3/4. I honestly don't recommend you making any of the 3/4 stuff unless you're planning on making unless you're planning to make the manor stuff, because otherwise
a really heavy hike that you may have to build somewhere.
Yeah, if you're going into a very heavy area, and you're into a, otherwise if you're like transporting your own supplies across the map, I don't recommend you ever using gravity 3 stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting a lot of resources on something you could be saving up for something else. I know these water elementals, stone elementals, all those look really nice and stuff, but remember, unless it says it's an imp, you won't be able to tame it using... you won't be able to tame it at all. The water elementals, stone elementals, and all those require the elemental stone, the regular soul stone. You get that, I think, at the very end of your taming board, of your taming progress. This is the only thing that you can use in order to tame water elemental. What's more, in order to tame one, you need to get them down to that very last, to below that very last line on their HP. You just basically got to get them at a very low HP without killing them. Then you basically take out the elemental stone, aim at them, press the button, press your left mouse button, and hold it for a little while. After around 2 seconds, let go, and if it says soul has been suppressed, you can go ahead and kill the current elemental, and then revive it at a summoning pool. If you want to know what it will take for you to revive an elemental, just look up, take out your elemental stone and look at it in your inventory. It will tell you whether or not you need meat, stone, sulfur, ice cubes, and so on. If you want to start off with a good pack animal, I recommend taming one of these longhorns. They're not fast, so you can easily outrun them, and they're pretty easy tames. All you really need is apples, berries, or grass, and they'll be easy tame. They're pretty much easy, very easy tames. They're easy to kill, so if you need meat, you can also kill them for that. I like to keep them around for hide, because they also drop a pretty good amount of hide. Also, further, these guys are completely friendly, so you can walk up to them and they won't ever be bothered by you unless you attack them. Another good animal to tame early on is a boar. A boar is a good transport animal. It moves really fast and can even outrun a panther. So it's one of the fastest land animals, but it does not have a lot of health or attack. So that's not something you want to be taking into the middle of battle and expecting to win a fight.
Unless you have our boar, because we train everything to kill something.
Yeah, unless you basically spent time actually training the damn thing into a combat machine. Otherwise, I don't recommend you grabbing yourself a boar and running off into the middle of combat. You will regret that quickly. Now, right, where is he? I just heard him. I was looking around for the damn goblin. Now he's disappeared. Oh, there he is. Okay, let me finish off these hyenas, and I'll tell you what I wanted to tell you about the goblin. Okay, when you find a goblin, there are certain animals out there that whose preferred food is meat. Any animal that is sentient, like the goblins, will in fact eat raw meat. But if you want to tame them up quickly and efficiently, use cooked meat. They love that stuff. Goblins are also pretty. You will actually need goblins in order to unlock the rest of the things in your goblin engineering. The goblin engineering is pretty useful, especially when you're at low levels, because it does provide you with your first type of turret. Goblin ballista turrets will basically shoot out arrows at nearby targets. If you place them up in the high areas, they of course have a large amount of extended range, and can even shoot out special arrows. So if you want, you can actually make a bunch of these and then fill them up with explosive arrows.
Or just get siege arrows.
Yeah, or siege arrows. But if they're gonna get siege arrows, that's pretty much end game. That's pretty much end game stuff.
Yeah.
If you're trying to collect a bunch of wood without over encumbering yourself, look for an animal called the colossal flarehorn. It's basically a moose. When you find this animal, taming it can be a bit of a pain due to the fact that they run whenever they've been whenever encountered. Not whenever encountered. They run whenever provoked. So the moment you try taming it, it's going to try to bolt away, which is why it's important that you have the entanglement
The orb of entanglement.
Yeah. If you gotta tame one of those moose, just use the orb of entanglement, and that way you can easily keep up with it. And basically, once you've hit it with the orb of entanglement, just try to kill it with a bunch of hook arrows. And the moment the orb of entanglement wears off, it'll start to take off. Try to keep up with it, and you'll pretty much see that it's gonna be an easy tame then. But otherwise, if you try taming something without the orb of entanglement, you are gonna have a pretty hard time. These panthers do a lot of damage. They have a pretty decent amount of health, even at low levels. So, if out of all the animals that you will probably encounter early on, you want to keep an eye out for the panthers. They're pretty sneaky. They don't make a lot of noise. They aren't constantly barking like the wolves or the hyenas. So they can easily sneak up on you if you're not careful. When you kill goblins, remember to always check their inventory, because they will have items such as the Goblin Club, which is currently the only way that you can tame something using melee skills. And they will also have Goblin Gizmos, which is something you need to eat in order to increase your Goblin Engineering. Once you've gotten your first level of Goblin Engineering, you can tame a goblin and have it craft you a bunch of Goblin Gizmos, which again you can eat to further increase your own Goblin Engineering to unlock your Goblin Contract, which you need in order to fuel your ballista turrets. Now currently, since I did basically start off a new character and then use command cheats to just get them to high level, I don't have a lot of the benefits that I would have usually by grinding to this level. Otherwise, you'd easily see me with well over 1,000 health, well over a 500 attack, raw physical attack, and well over 450 mana. Mana affects your magical, I guess you could say everything that has to do with magic. Your attack affects everything that has to do with physical combat. And yes, it will affect how much damage you do with a crossbow and a gun. I wouldn't try taming a wyvern until after you've acquired the polymorph spell, in which case you could turn it into a sheep, imprison it into a small building, and then either go in with a goblin club and smack it until it goes to sleep, or use hook arrows until it goes to sleep. Basically, let's say I wanted to tame this wyvern, I'd have to first transform it into a sheep. While it's a sheep, I'd have to quickly build a small structure around it with a roof to make sure it can't get away. And the moment that happens, I'd take out a bow and basically cover it with as many hook arrows as I can. Once it's covered in enough hook arrows, I destroy the wall or the foundation in order to destroy the entire building without harming the animal. And then just as it tries to fly away to safety, it'll knock itself out. That's the easiest way to tame a wyvern, at least in my experience. A goblin club does work, but the thing is that goblin clubs do a small amount of damage, and these guys have a lot of torpor. Wolves, they aren't particularly good at anything, but if you're a low level character, they can be a good first mount due to the fact that they, unlike the boar, they do have a decent amount of health and they do a decent amount of damage. while anything else won't really, a board won't really be any good at combat. Another thing that you should know is that you can't really drop and pick up entire stacks of items with a single press of a button like you could in Ark. Instead, on this one, you have to drag the stack of items into your inventory if you want it there. If you want to get into the inventory of, let's say, a fireplace, just look at it and press R. I do recommend key binding your whistles because a lot of people have had problems with the whistle. I also recommend key binding your console command button due to the fact that it's usually the tab button, and the tab button is pretty often misclicked. So try to key bind that to either something in your number pad so that you don't accidentally misclick it, or just try to get used to it being there. Besides that, I don't think there's really anything else you need to worry about. The rest of it's pretty much an adventure. Just experiment with what you got. Don't let frustration get the best of you, because I know this game can be really frustrating due to the fact that it is still an early access game. But it's a fun game, and it honestly doesn't deserve that much of a bad rap. Oh, there it is. If you have any problems with the game, let's say you're having problems loading the game or anything like that, just go into your settings and change it from full screen to borderless full screen, because I do know that quite a bit of amount of people keep crashing the moment they try to enter the game. Going into borderless full screen will in fact fix that problem, as well as many other graphical problems that you may have. The devs, they do like to listen to the people that actually play the game. So if you have a problem with, let's say you keep running into a problem where a sheep seems to be able to turn hostile and kill you in one hit, just send the devs a message, and I can guarantee you that they will listen and they will try to fix whatever problem it is. Oh, right. One last thing before I end this recording. Before you build anywhere, stay around the area and scout around the area where you're going to want to build for, let's say, 30 minutes. Due to the fact that there are meteorites that fall all over the map, and wherever a meteorite falls, there will in fact be something called a dark fallen, or a dark version of an elemental. These dark versions of elementals will drop high level loot, so if you kill one, there is a chance that it'll drop a legendary version of a sword or armor piece, for example. Remember, these things usually have well over 1,000 health and take a reduced amount of damage from just about anything that's in their opposite elemental. So fighting one isn't recommended for someone that is low level and that doesn't have a good capable mount, because otherwise you're probably going to die, since they do ignore a good portion of armor. So after you've seen the area where you want to build, try putting your first foundation on an elevated area, so that the rest of the foundations can be placed evenly. Otherwise, if you put it on the lowest area of the map of where you are going to build your house, you could end up with crooked foundations. Besides that, when it comes to building, I can't really say anything else due to the fact that I tend to build pretty simple structures. I don't like going too much elaborate into it. I hope you guys, if you get the game, I hope you guys have a fun time. If you have any problems, again, you can just leave a comment down below and I'll try to help you out as much as I can. If not, and you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.